Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, LuckyEevee, Stryker, Jordan, and Mathmachine. Today is our 53rd episode, and it's our first year anniversary. As of today, we have been doing this for over 52 weeks or 52 episodes, and it's been a lot of fun so far, and we hope to keep on making good episodes for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, so to celebrate, we're going to be discussing the 1975 movie Super-Inframan. So, let's get things started. So, shows like Ultraman and Kamen Rider were huge hits around the world, but especially in Asia, and especially in Hong Kong. Now, the Shaw Brothers studio was one of the biggest studios in Hong Kong at the time, and to capitalize on this popularity, they decided to make their own version of a hero like Ultraman or Kamen Rider. And what we got was Super-Inframan, which is both one of the most unusual and one of the most fun movies that I have ever seen. It is hard to excited there. It is so hard to describe just how much fun this movie is. We will try, but this is a movie you definitely have got to see for yourself if you have not seen this movie already.
Oh, so that's definitely...
Yep. So the movie itself starts with several shots from later on in the movie of Infra-Man leaping in the air before it throws the opening credits. They play over several shots of computer visual effects that, for 1975, probably seemed really futuristic. And at the end of the credits, we see the swirling effects form to create a model of Infra-Man himself. The movie proper begins with a group of children driving along on a school trip before the ground starts to shake. A dragon then flies overhead and slams into the ground before disappearing, which in turn causes like an earthquake to happen as the teacher gets all the children out of the bus, but the driver is still stuck inside as the bus goes over the cliff. We then cut to a scene of a city in flames as people are running for their lives, and it's very similar to something that you'd find in like kaiju movies and that. It makes you wonder if this is like stock footage from some other kind of film, and they put it in this one.
Yeah, it kind of also reminds me of Reign of Fire and just like general like suburban fantasy, as it were, like everyday occurrences, but then all of a sudden a dragon just lands in the freaking street, just like
exactly. That's another good analogy to make right there. So yeah, after that we then cut to a government facility as the scientist exits a car while being hounded by reporters, and then he goes inside the government facility, which to me looks a lot more like something you'd find in James Bond, like Blofeld's volcano lair, than like an actual scientific institute. But one thing I will say about this movie, the set design is phenomenal. It really makes these places seem so colorful and so alive in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'll bet. It kind of does look a little colorful, which is part of the course for some of the 70s stuff.
Yeah, and again, we'll talk a lot more about how just unusual this movie can get later on, but right now it's probably the most sedate we get of it, so enjoy it while it lasts. So Chen and Zhu, two workers, they notice that the communications are out of order as Professor Liu arrives, and it turns out that their communication system is knocked out of order from a mysterious wave while they try to fix this. We get a lot of footage of computers basically beeping and printing out papers, which probably is padding, but it also is kind of cool just to see, like, oh, that's how computers worked back then. The whole reel-to-reel stuff.
Yeah.
So the professor claims that the wave comes from underground, and then it's told about the earthquake at Mount Devil that we saw earlier on in the movie. He claims that the mountain is a volcano that has been dormant for over 2,000 years. Another earthquake strikes a seismology lab, and then Professor Liu tells Chen to call the seismology center to find out where the earthquake came from while he decides to analyze Mount Devil. And after a countdown from 10, they watch Mount Devil, and the rocks begin to crumble to reveal a set of like two giant stone, I guess you'd call them entrances. It's kind of hard to describe. One is shaped like a dragon's head, and the other is shaped like a skull. And then we get probably the reason we're doing this movie. The team gets a signal on their view screen as they see the dragon from before, and it turns out this dragon is a dragoness. She has a really unique design. She has the green scales and the red eyes with the mouth being perpetually open. It's not as distracting as it was, say, like in Lost in Space with Gundamarcus. Here, you kind of have to take it that it's a Sentai type of production. So it's really not the silliest type of monster out there. And I also like how the horns look on her in particular. It really gives her a quite a demonic look in that. But then she shifts into a different form with a humanoid face that we see more throughout this film. Now, she's not completely human because one thing that's interesting is even though she's a dragoness with a somewhat human appearance, she still is a dragoness because her helmet basically are the dragon horns. And it looks like her chest and torso are somewhat scaly, at least from the scenes I saw. So it's very, very interesting how they mixed the dragoness and the human designs. And don't worry, this is not the last we'll see of the full-on dragoness form of her. We get a really interesting part with that in a little bit.
Yep.
But it's here that she claims that her name, which is different depending on what version you watch, some dubs call her Demon Princess Easelbub, based on, of course, Beelzebub. The version I saw on archive.org, it was in the original Chinese with the subtitles. Her name here is called, I kid you not, Princess Dragon Mom.
I
know.
The Dragon Mom.
Yeah, that is.
Mutant Drill won't give me back my Game Boy.
The name. Yeah. Oh boy,
watching this sub, I actually thought at some points this was a shit post.
Yeah. The sub gets very, very weird at some points, and we'll get to more of the liberties that the subtitlers took in actually trying to translate this movie. But if that is her name, I don't know if that's supposed to be her real name or if Demon Princess Easelbub is her name. I'm not really sure. But basically, in brevity's sake, we're gonna call her Princess Dragon Mom throughout this review.
Yeah, Princess Dragon Mom.
Plus, it's more fun to say. It is a lot more fun to say.
Oh, absolutely.
So basically, all of the disasters that happened before were of her doing, and she demands their immediate surrender. She includes her message as a professor. The professor basically tells Chen to monitor where she is. We then cut to a burning building where we see one of the government scientists enter the building to save a baby. The scientist saves the child before riding off onto a motorcycle. We then cut to a government meeting, and like I say, it comes completely out of nowhere. This feels like they put it in, we need some more action in this movie, even though this movie is very, very action-packed already. But I guess you need just a little bit more of that action sequence there. But yeah, it's here we cut back to a government meeting as one of the ministers claims that these attacks have happened all over the world and has destroyed buildings like oil refineries and schools and whatnot. One thing that's kind of unintentionally comical here is that the minister says it is possible that the Earth has been invaded as Princess Dragon Mom claims, when she already told them that, her plans is to invade the Earth. It's like, you already know about this.
Yeah, it's like Speed Racer, except...
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's exactly.
I don't think that we're conveying quite well enough is that, especially in the early parts, this movie is edited very weirdly. It just, okay, here's the thing that happens, and then literally cut. No transition, no, okay, let's join in this section, no nothing. Just oh, hey, here's this thing, and then completely unrelated.
Exactly. It does get like that, especially in the early parts. It feels like this movie was meant to be longer than 88 minutes, but I feel like what happens is 82 minutes, forgive me. But what happens is they cut it down somewhat. Somewhere they took some bits of I guess more character development or something out, because that's why the beginning of this movie feels very rushed in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I got the vibe that this was intended to be a series, and they just had 4 or 5 episodes made, and then they just spliced it together into this movie.
That could very well be. That is actually a good point there. This could have been an attempt at a mini series, like an Infra-Man series, that it didn't do well, so they just decided to package it as a movie. But
yeah,
I can definitely see that. See, the professor claims that Princess Dragon Mom comes from a race of humans that went underground during the Ice Age and has now come out to seek their revenge. Sadly, we do not get to see Princess Dragon Mom fight off Sid, Manny, or Diego. Missed opportunity right there.
Nice.
I don't know, I had to do it. But the thing that's interesting is that they claim that Princess Dragon Mom comes from a race of humans, but I'm not really sure how accurate that is, because the Dragoness form is the one that she takes more, she has more characteristics of, and she really just seems more comfortable in. So I don't know if, like, them claiming that she's from a race of humans, that if that was like a mistranslation of the subtitles or not.
I'm thinking it was a mistranslation because then for the rest of the movie, they keep referring to them as mutants.
Yeah, exactly. So, the professor is then put in charge, and he demands that they start Plan BDX. And again, like you said, Math, there's another cut. As we cut to Princess Dragon Mom's lair, we see her in her Dragoness form flying around and performing acrobatics, and before cutting back to her human form. And one thing I will say right now, and I'll definitely talk more about this later on in the episode, the suit work in this movie and like the actual abilities that these guys in the suits do are amazing. These fight scenes, like when we get to them, they are the best part of the movie. I mean, the Shaw brothers, they made a lot of kung fu movies, and you can tell why. They had a real knack for knowing basically how to do actual fight choreography, because this is honestly some of the best fight choreography you will see is in Infra-Man.
Also, I know that this came out 20 years later, but from this point on, Princess Dragon Ma is really pulling off that Rita Repulsa energy.
Yeah, she is. I mean, it makes you wonder if like Super Sentai took from her in a way. It very well could have.
She was doing so well in that style. I actually, at some point, was expecting her to say something like, "Magic wand, make my monster grow."
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's so unbearable.
But yeah, speaking of that, she then demands that her group of mutants arrive. All of her servants are basically skeleton men, with her second in command being a humanoid woman named Witch Eye. And then we get to see all of the various monsters show up. They all look very cool and very silly at the same time. And my favorite is a tie between Plant Monster, who is a plant-like monster with a skull face, and the two robots with mace arms that have giant springs attached. Like I say, they look so silly, but it's like, man, I want action figures of that one and that one and that one.
That one and that one and that one.
Movie did its job. Sold toys.
Yeah. I don't know if they made Infra-Man toys. That's the thing that's interesting. We'll talk more about that later. But Infra-Man was a success. I don't know if it ever had like a franchise or any sort of toys in that.
This is one of those few things I'd say really should have sold toys.
Oh, it should have. Should have.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
Princess Dragon Mom then orders all of the mutants to go out and show the humans their might in order to conquer the Earth. We then cut back to the research lab as Professor Liu gives instruction to all the other scientists. He tells one of the scientists, Ray Ma, to follow him. And it's here when we get to the actual part where they're going deeper into the research facility. I really was reminded of the Italian movie Danger Diabolic with its set design. It has that same sort of it has that same sort of like a comic book yet 1960s mod vibe about it. And this came out in 1975, but it very much evokes, I think, that sort of 60s like mod vibe to it.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So then Professor Liu reveals the Infra-Man project and how it works that a man will be given enhanced DNA and implanted with sophisticated technology. He's going to wear a body armor that can fight against all the elements and has advanced weaponry put in it. And like I say, the Infra-Man is kind of a ripoff of Ultraman / Kamen Rider, but it's fun in its own right. It's the suit design in general is a lot of fun, and we get to see it in action quite a bit. So Rayma asks to become the Infra-Man, but the professor warns him he may die. And despite this, Rayma is ready. Excuse me.
His body is ready.
Yeah, it's just.
My body is ready.
Yeah. So the professor injects Rayma with various chemicals and hooks him up to wire. There's a little bit of padding in this montage. I see the professor continuing to work for about like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And then we cut back to Princess Dragon Mom's base as we slowly pan through it. We get some more of the really cool set design, and even just the like aesthetics. Like, I love that her flag is a stylized version of her dragoness form standing on top of a giant skull. That is fun, you know? That they didn't have to put in like a flag design for what it would look like, but I'm glad they did. It's one of those little details that, you know, you're really happy to see they thought that far.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yep, she tells them about, she basically tells Witch Eye to send out the mutants, even though she already did that before. Kind of, again, a weird sort of a continuity thing there.
Yeah.
Shot of all the
continuity.
Shot of all the monsters cheering. It's so funny. It's like they're all part of like a sports team or something.
Roar, roar, the Quiznak Gorgonauts or something like that.
Exactly.
So they absolutely did have that soccer hooligan energy going.
Definitely. Yeah. One of the monsters demands to go first, but Princess Dragon Mom warns them of their powerful adversary, which kind of, again, is a weird continuity error. I'm not saying it's a plot hole, but it could be one, because Infra-Man technically doesn't exist yet, and yet she's warning them about him. Which, again, might be something with the subtitles that they'd mean to mention, like, adversary as Infra-Man directly, but that was the intent.
Yeah, she could very well have recognition. I don't know.
They may have edited this out of order.
It very well could be. It very, very well could have been. But Princess Dragonmon decides to send out Monster Plant, who is the aforementioned plant with skull face, and Mutant Drill, who basically looks like a giant rock monster, but he has drill hands. And the way they get into her lair is by teleportation, but the effect is really, really cool because it's something that, again, a detail they didn't have to put in is that it's visible in the background and the foreground at the same time. You see the other monsters reacting to these two monsters being teleported out of the area they're in and into the main foyer of Princess Dragon Mom's lair. Again, it's something that really shouldn't be so impressive, but it really, really is.
Exactly. Yeah. It is.
So, also, we're going to have a lot more of this guy, so I just want to say this right now. Monster Plant sounds almost exactly like Donald Duck.
Oh, yeah.
He really has a kind of like, you know, voice.
He also kind of sounds a bit like those stock cat effects.
Yeah. That too. So anyway, she shows Mutant Drill and Monster Plant, the professor, and she tells them that they shouldn't attack above ground, and then she orders them to attack separately. And it's here where we get another moment that really just made me laugh. I actually had to pause the movie and then rewind it after this part, because how they leave the base, you think that, oh, they're going to teleport, or, oh, they're going to be in a puff of smoke or something like that, or, oh, they're going to fly, but no. They just walk out of the base so casually, like, oh yeah, it's lunch break. Come on, let's go down the street. Yeah, it's like these two ridiculous-looking monsters just casually walking out and walking around. It is something that is so inherently ridiculous. Just like it's like they're on lunch break or something. Like, oh yeah, let's go over here. Okay, monster.
Only Plant. In China.
Yeah, Hong Kong. Yeah. So yeah. We then cut to Zoo driving before Mutant Drill picks up his car and throws it to the ground, causing it to explode. He then picks up Zoo and he carries him away. Monster Plant, meanwhile, he infiltrates the base really easily, and he sinks to the ground. And again, a really cool special effect. And there is something funny about seeing this ridiculous-looking plant monster wandering around these, ordinary-looking hallways and that, but. He then appears in the research lab with his giant vines, basically goes in and smashes all the lab equipment. The scientists attempt to shoot his vines to no avail as he basically tries to attack them. And what we have intercuts between the Professor Lou continuing to make Infra-Man and Monster Plant attacking the scientists. None of the scientists, as far as we can tell, are actually killed by this, which is very interesting. Even when one of them is basically thrown against a panel and electrocuted, he actually shows up later on in the scene just fine, so...
Plot armor!
Anyways. Yeah. Exactly. So basically, the professor orders them to get the power on in a minute, or else Rayma will die. One of the scientists attempts to crawl over to the power, but he's grabbed by monster plant's vines. A group of scientists enter as one of them is using a buzzsaw to cut his vines, and they turn on the power. And it's here where we get to see Infra-Man finally complete, as we get to see the Infra-Man suit. And again, it very much is reminiscent of other types of suits of this genre, but it does have its own charm. I do like the color scheme, the whole, red, blue, and silver to it. It is cool. And, yeah, and I guess the filmmakers also thought it was really cool because when he rises out of bed, we get a triple zoom in on his face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, the whole rising up but repeating shot, it's so like 60s/70s.
Yeah, definitely.
Frickin' thing.
Sentai.
It's definitely like Sentai, yeah. So Rayma feels he's all powerful. Then he leaps out of bed and performs various flips, and he smashes metal pipes like they were nothing. And it's a shame. I looked up. I couldn't find if there were any stuntmen for this, or if it was Rayma's actor also doing the stunts. I think it is, because later on we get to see him fight by himself, and this guy is really, really like athletic, or because just how this guy moves in that, and again in a suit that probably looked pretty heavy, he moves so fluently in it.
Yeah, he does, which is actually very impressive.
Oh hell yeah!
Especially again for 75, and now if he is officially declared the Super-Inframan, and with his advanced vision and hearing, he senses that plant monster attacks, and he flies out of the building to do battle with him. And here's where, again, it seems like the theory about this being a TV show might be right, because everybody knows who Infra-Man is instantly. Like, as soon as he shows up, they're like, look, it's Infra-Man. It's like, well, he just got made. How do you know who he is? He didn't even tell you who he was.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, now we get to see Infra-Man chopping down several of Plant Monster's giant vines. Then he uses X-ray vision to see where he's hiding. After he destroys one of the giant vines with his fire bomb, Plant Monster shows up and the two do battle. And, again, the hand-to-hand combat in this movie, it's so much fun. It really is. This is the reason why you watch Infra-Man, is to see the actual fight scenes, and they are a blast. There are a lot more fight sequences to come, because they knew their specialty and they stuck with it, because these two were actual stuntmen and fighting in really heavy, cumbersome suits. And yet, it is some of the best combat you will see, I think, in any movie, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying it's as good as, like, Bruce Lee movies, no. But it is really, really impressive, especially for 75.
The Shaw brothers have a specialization in their films, and they were able to bring that to this genre somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And yep, like I say, there is a lot more fight sequences, and we'll talk about all of them because they're all excellent. So what happens is Infra-Man basically kicks Plant Monster from the research lab into a forest, and they continue to do battle. And Plant Monster somehow knows basically hand-to-hand combat, which, okay. But then he tries to cheat by using explosive spores. He then teleports all over before Infra-Man traps him with firebomb, and then he basically kills him with his lasers, causing a Plant Monster to explode.
Yeah, I just like traps him with flame, then all of a sudden it's just like
and he is completely destroyed. So then Zhu is brought to Princess Dragon Mom's lair, and the other monsters want revenge for Plant Monster's death. So apparently they knew about this literally seconds after he exploded, It's like, oh, Plant Monster is dead. Like, literally right after he died, they somehow find out. But it turns out that Princess Dragon Mom decides to brainwash him into doing her bidding. They do this by, and according to the actual subtitles here, using his memory nerves and other nerves together, which, okay, that definitely feels like it was mistranslated from something, because that makes absolutely no sense. But then that statement doesn't even make sense, because Witch Eye hypnotizes him with the eyes in her hands. So it's like, why'd you even say that? Why couldn't you just have her say, my associate Witch Eye will hypnotize you into doing our bidding or stuff like that?
Oh, well, we spent the money on this set. Might as well use it.
Yeah, exactly. But His eyes then start glowing green. We then cut back to the research lab as Rayma wants to go to Princess Dragon Mom's lair to rescue him. The professor tells him he's not ready to fight them all yet, and he needs the Thunderbolt fists. Sadly, we do not know if he needs the Pegasus boots as well. Yeah. But Zhu then returns to the research lab. He's visibly dazed as Rayma knows something is wrong right away. Princess Dragon Mom instructs him to get her the blueprints for Infra-Man's design so she can find if he has any weaknesses. A guard tries to stop Zhu, but he uses his green vision, I guess, to stun the guard, and then he steals his key card. Zhu then sneaks around the lab before opening the safe, and he takes pictures of the blueprints. We then see another one of the scientists named Lung shows up. He asks Zhu what he's doing before, again, we get another fight sequence. And this one feels a little more randomly placed than the last one. Although, again, it is very, very impressive. The two battle for a while. They get into a motorcycle chase, and they resume fighting when Zhu crashes into the side of a mountain. And again, this is so well choreographed. Like, I am actually wouldn't be surprised if, like, Matrix didn't see at least some of this for, like, their fight sequences.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, Lung chases down Zhu before the next monster appears, creatively named, at least according to the subtitles, Spider Monster. He appears alongside the Skeleton Men. Spider Monster declares that Zhu be brought back to the lair before he starts fighting. And then a group of scientists show up, and they all just start fighting the monsters and fighting like the Skeleton Men. And they do surprisingly well for, not being Infra-Man and not having Infra-Man's powers. It's like a bunch of, random people are fighting against these demons, these mutant demons, and they hold their own. So how strong is Princess Dragon Mom Skeleton Men anyway?
We have no idea.
Nope, we certainly don't. But Spider Monster traps one of the men in a web ball in a really neat effect. And it turns out that one of the scientists was Rayma, and he transforms into Infra-Man once more. He frees Lung from the web before battling Spider Monster. They battle for a while, and again, choreography really good, especially with the Spider Monster suit, which looks kind of ridiculous. He kind of looks... I'm trying to say how I could describe him. He kind of looks like the mascot of like an exterminator company, basically.
He kind of does, actually.
Yeah. Think of like a bug extermination company, and that's kind of what this guy would look like. He'd be the mascot of it. But anyway, they battle for a while before a spider monster teleports away, and we get to see another monster appear. Now, the thing that's interesting, this monster has no name. It is never referred to by a name in the movie. The closest thing it has to a name, this is according to Wikipedia and TV Tropes, is Long Hair Monster. And because it resembles a demon with very long and stringy white hair.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so almost like a yokai if you think about it.
Yeah, very much
very
a
much
yokai.
So. He could be based on that as well, come to think of it. But anyway,
honestly, I like the name that I gave it better. Give me a second.
Go right ahead.
Okay, let me find it really quick.
That's okay.
Where's the name?
So anyway,
here it is. Harry Yeti Laser Banshee Boy.
Yeah, that is a better name.
Thumbs it up pretty nicely.
So yeah, basically what happens is he shoots lasers out of his horn in his arms. He manages to knock Infra-Man into a river, but Infra-Man leaps out of it. He uses his sunbeam to knock the monster into a river, and then he uses another one of his lasers basically to cause Long Hair Monster, or the name that Angron gave him. He causes him to explode. Yeah. And again, he was on screen for maybe 2 minutes, and yet it really is a memorable design.
Yeah, laser band.
Yeah,
laser Yeti Banshee Boy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, then we get to see a spider monster show up, and he goes into giant mode, and he becomes a kaiju. Now, sadly, this is the only kaiju we get in the movie. We do not get to see Princess Dragon Mom become a kaiju dragoness, although that would have been awesome. The processing of him being a giant, it looks really good, especially for 1975. This looks better than like some of the Gamera movies and that. Maybe not as good as like the Godzilla movies, but it looks better than a lot of other kaiju movies, especially those from Hong Kong. There's one called, I think, War God, that it is so poorly rendered in some parts. It really, really is. It looks like the kaijus are almost transparent at some point. So, points to the Shaw brothers for actually managing to do like the processing really well done. He attempts to step on Infra-Man before he turns his attention towards the scientist. And it's here we get another funny part, unintentionally funny, because the spider monster is a giant at this point. He could easily defeat them, but he cuts down like a power line, and he slowly moves it towards one of the scientists in particular, which gives Infra-Man all the time to become giant and causes them to fight. But it's like, you're a giant, 50-foot, monster. Why don't you just step on them and it's over? Instead of like, I'm going to slowly go after this guy with a really improbable weapon.
And then
honestly, it's a bug, so I wouldn't exactly make it. So I wouldn't exactly label it as big brain.
Yeah. What were you saying, Matt? Sorry.
And then this part is actually why I compare Infra-Man to Ultraman and not Kamen Rider, but Jet Jaguar, because he does do the grow to kaiju size thing.
Yeah. And the fight sequence is a lot like other kaiju fights, complete with Infra-Man tossing Spider Monster into a power plant that explodes. And again, for a studio that I don't think they did a lot of kaiju work, they did a really good job with this one. What happens is a spider monster shrinks down and he tries to run away, but Infra-Man just crushes him under his boot.
Like a bug.
Yep, exactly. So Princess Dragon Mom is infuriated by this, and she sends Mutant Drill along with Zyu to basically bomb the lab, and she decides to study Infra-Man for weaknesses, and she learns that he's powered by the sun. Now, you think this would come into play later on in the movie. And
you also think that it would be a Sunny D reference, even though I don't know when Sunny D came out.
Sunny D.
Unleash the power of the sun! Power of sunlight!
The sun!
Or Celestia.
What happens, though, is that this plot point is kind of brought up, but it's really just forgotten about, like almost immediately. And we'll get to that as it happens. But you think that the fact that Infra-Man would be weak when he's not powered by the sun, you think it would come more into play than it does in the actual movie.
Yep.
So then we cut to a family basically having a picnic by the research lab, which is probably not the best place to have a picnic, especially since you know that monsters are going to be attacking the area. So the youngest daughter claims that she wants to be like Infra-Man, and the older sister tells her about the morals of Infra-Man. And meanwhile, Infra-Man has so far been around for about, I guess, a couple of hours at this point by the movie's runtime. So yeah, I don't know how they know all this about Infra-Man right away, like almost immediately.
At this point, I'm thinking they might have intended this to be a series.
I very well could see that. I definitely could see that.
Also, unless I'm mistaken, I think this is the same family from the beginning of the movie.
It very well could be, huh? I did not think of that.
They may have already known about Infra-Man.
Who knows? Very well could be. I did not consider that. But
again, it could have been edited out of order, thinking about
it very well could have been as well.
It's like Dracula, if we're thinking about it.
Yeah, it very, very well could have been. So what happens is the brother jumps out and he scares the younger sister. And it's here that we get a very, very strange thing with the movie, with the subtitles from here on in. Up until this point, the subtitles have been fairly, decent. They've been, pretty much generic subtitles. I don't know what happened, but it's from this point in, the subtitles become filthy as hell. Because at this part, the older brother says, "Oh, you're chicken shit," and the little girl, who is no older than like 6 or 7 years old, is repeatedly saying "fuck you" over and over. Again, according to the subtitles of this movie. I mean, I don't know. This is like the all according to Keikaku kind of thing, where the subtitles decided, "Oh, this is boring. Let's spice it up a little." Because I highly doubt
vulgarity, bro. That's where the real shit's at.
I'm guessing the translator just gave up.
I think so too. I think it was like the translator was like, well, I don't care. Well, I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm going to put so many swear words in. And from this point on, there is so much swearing in the dialogue where I don't think it would fit at all.
Yep.
Even in China, I don't think it would fit.
No, definitely not. Not in Hong Kong either. It's just not at that time period. So what happens is they chase each other around before they find a mysterious cave. The older brother notes that there's a monster in there, and he goes up to investigate. Inside the cave, a mutant drill and Zhu showed up with dynamite to blow up the power room. The brother sees them and hides. He's trying not to be seen by them. A lizard lands on his head, and he shakes it off, but that causes a mutant drill to find him. The older sisters, The older sister decides to go in, and it's here where we get number 2 of the weird subtitle thing, where the little girl says, "Then go ahead, you crazy bitch." Again, this is a girl no older than 7 years old is saying this.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, whoever did the subtitles for this movie definitely, or this copy anyway, definitely took some creative liberties with the dialogue.
Only in China.
Yep. So the older sister, she goes in, she finds her brother tied up. She goes to rescue him before being captured by a mutant drill. Zhu ties them up, and they're to be blown up along with the building. Rayma shows up, and he asks why the youngest girl is so upset. He does some acrobatic flips for her, which really it was the actor doing it, so major props to him. And she tells him about the cave as Rayma enters it to find them tied up as well as dynamite about to go off. He transforms into Infra-Man and he just flies out of the room and throws the dynamite into the distance. One thing that's interesting is that we then cut back to a mutant drill at Princess Dragon Mom's lair, and it's here where he tries to tell her about Infra-Man, but it's here where we get a bit of villain stupidity because she could go and she could probably kidnap Infra-Man right now, but she says, "No, I must kidnap the Professor Liu first." And it's like, yeah, but you could get Infra-Man, you could defeat him right then and there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's the selective intelligence of villains.
Yes, exactly. So what happens is Infra-Man and the Professor are making his Thunderbolt fists that can produce lasers that can destroy anything. They also have laser blades that could cut monsters into pieces. And it's here that Infra-Man is now ready to take on the basically Princess Dragon Mom and the rest of her monsters, and he heads to his study. It's here that we get a pretty sweet, almost slice of life part where his daughter arrives, and she notes that he's been overworking himself, but he has to do it for the good and the safety of the world. It's a really, really sweet scene as he tells his daughter May about the day she was born and about how after he's done with all this, he will finally make time for her. It's a scene that, again, could feel like padding, but there's something about the actors and the way they sell this, the dialogue. Even if you don't know the language, there's something about the way they interact. It feels so natural. So basically what happens is May stays behind to read until the lights go out and Mutant Drill kidnaps her. Meanwhile, and then Professor Liu is making plans for their assault on Mount Devil. He tries to contact his daughter, but Princess Dragon Mom contacts him first, and she says that she has May as a hostage. She claims that she'll kill May unless he comes tomorrow alone. Rayma basically wants to join him, but he cannot for the safety of his daughter. Professor Liu claims that if anything happens to him, Rayma is to basically defeat Princess Dragon Mom. And it's here where we get number 3 on the bizarre, vulgar subtitles, because the subtitles claim that, Rayma, fuck that bitch up. And it's like, whoa, okay, I did not expect this to turn to Tarantino dialogue all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
That is definitely something that was added by the subtitler. That definitely could not have been the original dialogue.
Yeah, no, it's impossible for it to be the original dialogue.
Yeah. But then we cut to the following day as we see another really inherently comical scene. Professor Liu is in a speedboat flanked by both the Skeleton Man and Mutant Drill. And he is so casual about it. Like, he adjusts his tie and everything. It's honestly really, really funny. Like, I'm surprised it's not a meme. If it's not, it should be because it is hilarious. Just the fact that it's
Make it so.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's this like stoic business looking man alongside like these two ridiculous monsters, and no one notices like the inherent ridiculousness of it. And that's to this movie's benefit that they play this all completely seriously. Like if at once they tried winking to the audience or like leaning into the silliness, it would not have worked. This is something that you have to take dead seriously for it to be more fun, in my opinion.
Oh, you say it's taking itself seriously. You're underselling it a little bit because I swear to God, the music that they play during this scene sounds like it could have been from Love Boat.
It could very well have been.
Yeah, that too.
A love boat.
Oh yeah, that would have been an interesting crossover.
Another run. Oh man, that would have been. Oh, man, Gene Wilder singing that is just hilarious.
Yeah. That definitely would have been a very interesting crossover if we got to see Princess Dragon Mama on the Love Boat. But
on Airplane too.
That too. But regardless, we get to see the professor escorted into the lair, and a shot that really shows off the excellent set design because it slowly pans out through every like nook and cranny, and you really get an appreciation just for how good this movie looks. But when he arrives, he demands to see his daughter, and Princess Dragon Mom allows him to by teleporting his daughter there. She then claims that the professor loves his daughter and will do anything for her. She then calls Zhu over, and it's here she uses her electrified whip to get rid of him. And how she does this is a pit of lava opens above the floor, and she just drops him in. And this is extremely dark for what up to this point was a relatively light-hearted movie. It's like this poor guy was completely brainwashed into doing their bidding, and then he was horribly killed before their eyes by basically falling in a pit of lava. Especially, again, for this type of movie. You know, it's something that comes completely out of nowhere. And it's at odds with the rest of the tone of the entire movie.
Yeah,
it's just sort of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. So she then claims that the professor has to work for her forever if he wants to keep his daughter alive. And the professor doesn't give in. He claims that Infra-Man will stop her. She laughs at him and claims that she knows his weakness in the blueprints. Her plan is to block out the sun, thereby making Infra-Man powerless. She then sends out Mutant Drill and another one of her monsters, Fire Dragon, who looks like an Eastern dragon, basically how you would expect an Eastern dragon to look, but he has a mustache, and the mustache appears to be made of fire. That is both the most ridiculous and the coolest thing I think I could ever think of. A mustache made of fire.
Those are not just flesh whiskers?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, they could. They were. You might be right about that.
Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see about it. But anyway, it's here that Rayma shows up because evidently he did not listen to the professor. He fights some skeleton guards before Mutant Drill shows up and engages him in hand-to-drill combat.
Hand-to-drill.
Yep. So some of the other scientists are there as well, and it's here where we get something, again, so out of left field that I actually had to laugh. Like, you're thinking, oh, how are they going to fight the skeleton men? They just whip out a bunch of guns and shoot them dead. It's like something that's like, it's almost an anti-climax for that part of it, you know?
It's
like the skeleton men are approaching with their swords, and they just like whip out a bunch of pistols and just shoot them down.
We're going to kill skeletons.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
But yeah, the scientists continue to fight the skeleton men, this time with hand-to-hand combat, while Mutant Drill defeats several of the scientists. We then get another really, really cool stunt here, where Rayma rides his motorcycle, and he crashes it into Mutant Drill's chest. I don't know who the guy in the Mutant Drill costume suit was, but it looked like he got an actual motorcycle hitting his chest. So I hope that suit is well padded, because that is nuts, you know?
Yeah,
it's nuts. All things considered.
So basically this stuns Mutant Drill before he tries running another way. Fire Dragon appears and tries to stop him by breathing fire, and it's here I also give the actor playing Rayma credit. He had to do stunt flips while having open flames thrown at him, which again is not the craziest stunt that an actor in these type of movies would have to do, but it is probably up there because this guy has to like do like backflips away while fire is going off all around him.
Oh yeah, that is definitely some pretty
Yeah, it really, really is cool. So Rayma then manages to get to another area, only for both Mutant Drill and Fire Dragon to attack him. He ends up transforming into Infra-Man to battle them both. He uses a sunbeam on Fire Dragon, but Princess Dragon Mom blocks out the sun with clouds. And it's here where we get to the point what I said earlier, because seemingly Infra-Man is supposed to be weakened. But he isn't at all. He is just as strong as he was without the sun than he is with the sun. Because he manages to kill Mutant Drill with his Thunder Kick, which causes Mutant Drill to explode. Several of the skeleton men try to swarm Infra-Man. Fire Dragon turns invisible, but Infra-Man spots him and he causes him to explode as well by using his laser. And again, they talked up that without the power of the sun, Infra-Man is helpless. And it's like, he's far from it. And if anything, he's more capable than ever.
Oh, hell yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
so
without your signature crouching kick, you are powerless to stop me. Then all of a sudden, that freaking car just comes out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Infra-Man then runs into the lair, only to be caught by a force field. Infra-Man is thrown into the same pit of lava that Zyu was thrown in, but he doesn't fall in by hanging onto a rock. Princess Dragon Mom says that Infra-Man will be killed, and she demands that the professor makes Infra-Men for her to serve as her army. Liu claims that he'll never make weapons for her, which causes Princess Dragon Mom to trap them into a prison that basically will freeze them to death over the course of 2 days, which is like, okay, why does it have to take 2 days? Why couldn't it just be in 30 minutes or something like that? It's kind of an arbitrary time.
It is.
Kind of. But...
So, Infra-Man then leaps out of the pit, and he does battle with the skeleton men, killing several of them. He then destroys the console that Princess Dragon Mom was using to control her various machines and that. Witch Eye attempts to blast him with a laser, and Infra-Man basically destroys the laser easily. And like I said, the stunt work, especially in this finale, is incredible. You have all of these guys moving at once, all doing so many different types of fight choreography in one single shot. It is mind-blowing just how good, like I say, this part of the movie is. So what happens next is Infra-Man uses his beam to cut off Witch Eye's hands, and he kicks her into the pit. He then sees where Professor Liu and Mei are being held, and he busts into the prison. We then get to see Princess Dragon Mom's 2 remaining henchmen, which are the iron monsters. They're the robot type monsters with the spring mace hands. And there's an amusing bit, and here's one that is intentionally amusing, I believe, where Infra-Man keeps kicking one down, and it just keeps popping back up. And again, it's a funny
I remember
bit.
That. That was funny.
Yeah.
It's
it just keeps... Yeah, exactly. He then attempts to use his Thunder Kick on them, but Princess Dragon Mom shows up in her Dragoness form. She then reveals her skeleton army. He then fights the skeletons, the iron monsters, and Princess Dragon Mom herself. There's a weird sound effect here, because when Princess Dragon Mom leaps over Infra-Man, there's a cartoon whistle, like a slide whistle, and it's very, very weird.
Are you serious?
It's probably the second weirdest slide whistle used in a badass stunt. After, of course, The Man with the Golden Gun. They have the corkscrew scene where they have a slide whistle play. But enough of that little tangent. She then realizes that Infra-Man is impervious to all elements except ice, and she has him frozen solid. She then uses his electrified whip to stun him, then orders her skeletons to bury him inside a glacier so he could never get out. And it's here you think, oh man, Infra-Man is done for. How's he going to get out of this? And it's here we get a really, really almost arbitrary Deus Ex Machina that comes out of nowhere. It's revealed now. All of a sudden, Infra-Man can use fire bombs to basically thaw himself out if he ever needed the chance.
What's weird is they play it like it's a flashback of the professor telling him this earlier, even though this has never been shown.
Like the professor.
Exactly. That is exactly right. But yeah, he then frees himself. He continues the fight. He kills the remaining skeleton men. He basically kills the two iron monsters by having them smack each other with their spring maces. And it's here we get a really, really cool effect. They dissolve into nothing in a bit of animation. And again, it's like they're rotoscoped over it, but it looks really, really cool. It's an effect they use only once, but I'm glad they did. So Princess Dragon Mom then realizes she has to fight Infra-Man herself in her true form. And one fun detail, and I always like when Dragonesses do this, it's going to definitely affect her Dragoness Scale score. One fun detail is that she still has her laugh while in her Dragoness form. The two battle for a while, and then Infra-Man uses his laser beam to cut off her head. Now, it's here we get something that I think is kind of silly at the same time, but it makes sense.
It's a little bit of comedy for the kids, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
She instantly regrows her head after he cuts it off. Infra-Man does this again. Princess Dragon Mom regrows her head. This happens 5, maybe 6 times in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they repeat this so much that it's like, it becomes silly, and then it becomes like, oh, come on. And then it loops right back around to being funny again. But then, of course...
Like, nope. Yeah. And then he just uses a Thunder Fist glove.
Yeah, he uses his Thunderbolt Fist. They slam into Princess Dragon Mom, and it kills her in flashing lights and that.
Yep.
And then, now that she's dead, apparently the base starts to self-destruct like they do in all these type of movies. Infra-Man freezes the professor and May, and then they all manage to escape just in the nick of time. The base crumbles back down into the earth, and the movie itself ends with all of them leaving on a boat, and the older sister says, as long as Infra-Man is here, we shall all be safe. And yeah, that's basically the end of the movie. Super-Inframan did extremely well in Hong Kong. It was a huge, huge hit. But the interesting thing, it did pretty decent business in the West as well. It actually got a worldwide, pretty big release, and it actually got good reviews too. Roger Ebert claimed a light will go out in the world when they stop making movies like Super-Inframan, and he gave it 3 out of 4 stars.
I can absolutely see that.
Yeah. I mean,
to describe this movie, I need an entire bottle of wine to handle all of the delicious cheese this movie gave.
Yeah,
it is that
exactly
kind of cheesy goodness that people just love to watch and turn their brains off to.
Exactly.
It's the type of thing I enjoy. Like, I've watched a lot of Sentai series, and I enjoyed it that much.
Oh, definitely. It is a really, really fun movie, and a sequel was apparently in the works. Now, the interesting thing about this is it would have had a Western infra woman in it. I don't know if it was going to have like an entirely Western cast, or if it was going to be made like half in Hong Kong, half in the United States or something. But it would have been interesting, but it never got made. The other thing that was interesting, apparently at one point a remake was announced, which I don't know how that would have been. Because on one hand, if it was still made in Hong Kong and it was still made with the fight choreography and the effects, it would be really cool. But I feel like there would also be something that would be missing if they just had all the monsters done in CGI. There's something about them all being practical effects, like they're actual guys in suits that are getting like beaten up and there's actual explosions and whatnot. It's something about it being real that makes it a lot more fun.
The way that I would describe that is the same way that I've described why there's a lot of like 90s animes that I don't want to see remade. It's the jank in those that really helps make them what they were, and
it made it enjoyable.
Clean,
exactly,
it'll lose itself.
Exactly. But yeah, regardless, Super-Inframan, it might not be traditionally a good movie, but it's a fun time. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's one that is well seeking out. It is like I say, and we just have only scratched the surface of the movie in general. Even though we did like a plot summary of it, you still have to see a lot of this to believe it, just to actually see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how this comes out. but that ties into the question of the week, which is, what is the weirdest movie that you have ever seen? I'm going to go first, and the straightest movie I've ever seen was actually one that watched a couple of years ago, or last year actually. It's a movie with a little unwieldy title, The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies.
I remember that movie.
Yep. What this movie is, it's mostly footage of a carnival, like actual like home movies of a carnival in the 1960s, spliced in with a story of a man being hypnotized by a fortune teller to become a brainwashed killer. And then she has other brainwashed killers who are scarred with acid and that. And by that itself, it's not weird. What's weird about this movie is how wrong it feels. This is a movie that it has bad print, it has bad sound. It feels like any second it's going to turn into like a snuff film or something like that. It feels like a movie that should not exist. It's creepy in ways that the director did not intend it to. By the way, the director was also the star of the movie, so yeah.
Because of course.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's so like wrong in a way. It feels like it comes from some alternate parallel nightmarish dimension where like up is down, and this movie like swept the Academy Awards that year or something like that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it just feels wrong. It doesn't feel like it belongs in this universe even, because it just has so many weird choices with the nightmare sequence, with the weird servant of the fortune teller named Ortega. You must serve, madam. Stuff like that. It has like these burlesque dance sequences that make up the bulk of the movie, and it is just again a movie that is inexplicable. It's probably readily available online, and it's not a good movie. It definitely is not a good movie, but it's not a bad movie because it is just so bizarre, so wrong. It feels like everything that they tell you what to do when making a movie, this movie did the opposite. Like, you could show this movie in film schools as what not to do with your movie. And yet, despite that, it was apparently a financial success. Bizarrely enough, because it probably had such a tiny, tiny budget. It played on the drive-in circuit, and it played on the drive-ins, and it made a huge profit because of it. And this bizarre, inexplicable movie, that is my pick. And like I say, it's also was released on the titles, The Incredibly Strange Creatures, and it has, it's one of those movies that got released with like 50 different titles as well.
Indeed.
I'm back.
So yeah, that's going to be my pick for my strangest movie that I've ever seen. So Angron, what would you have to say?
I would say that, but the problem is I followed that a little more than this one. Oh gosh, honestly, like a lot of movies I can more or less follow. I can just lean into the madness and be like, okay. So it's honestly going to be a little tricky finding an absolutely weird movie. Oh gosh, what's a good weird movie? I might have to ultimately say, if I can remember it. I kinda wanna have to say what's the term? Oh yeah, The Innkeeper? No, that doesn't sound right. It's the film that had Antonio Banderas, had the witches, it had just the guy watching over the hotel, and it ends with them in the freaking room. Like, it's bizarre. It's sort of a slice of life sort of thing. And like, sorry, what?
4 Rooms.
I think that's the name of it. Yeah, but yeah, it had Antonio Banderas in it. It was pretty dang bizarre, but in a very enjoyable way and in a way I could follow. So, I am gonna. Well, actually, no. I am going to say Village of the Giants was a pretty weird one.
Yeah.
Like, I could follow it more or less, and it was actually pretty enjoyable. But just like it goes from like a couple teens coming into town to all of a sudden them like getting a giant serum, and then all of a sudden it's just like it is just bizarre. 60s were bizarre in general, but just oh man.
Yeah, I definitely can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I kind of didn't want to have to say this, but
Yeah.
I will have to go with Princess and the Dragon. Just like I could follow it more or less, but just half the stuff in that movie, man, it was weird.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's a really good choice right there. So, Stryker, what would you have to say is the strangest movie that you've seen?
Most of the strange movies I've seen are actually short films I watched on YouTube.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Yep. Like what?
The strangest one I've seen is actually called D for Louse,
Oh.
which is a claymation film, actually.
Oh, that's nice.
I think that was part of the that anthology thing, the ABCs of Death.
Oh, it might have been. I don't know anything about that, but like, I know
From what the title is, it sounds like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It may have been.
Yeah.
I just know that it was one of the weirder movies I ever saw, and I'm just like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah. I definitely can imagine it.
It almost reminded me of the music video for Tool's "Sober" at times.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I know that, like, since I'm a horror fan, I did enjoy it though, but I could barely understand what was happening. It was silent throughout, except for ambiance, of course.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
It was just, you'd have to check it out. It's hard to explain.
I think I know what you mean. I could be wrong.
Almost like with the human hand cat, I believe it was called.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yep. So, Math, what would you have to say is the strangest movie that you've seen?
Oh, there's a lot of movies that you can go with for animation. I'm going to give us a couple of shout outs to some really weird ones. The Bulgarian Treasure Planet is a good starter if you just want really off-the-wall weird.
Well, you mean like the ones where the English dub had Bryan Cranston?
Yes.
And the one where they're like doing the oh man, I love Josh's
these two, but these are extremely lesser known movies. Like, I might be the only person that's ever even heard of these. The Adventures of American Rabbit and Sebastian Starbear First Mission. They are wild movies.
I may have heard of them, I'm not sure.
But the one that I've ultimately gone with is, and this is very beginner friendly for weird animated movies, because people have actually probably heard of it. The Princess and the Goblin. It's a Hungarian movie. It's based off of a mid-1800s fairy tale book. And it is a bit odd in how it's done. It starts out with what looks like pretty good animation, and then just as the movie goes on, you can tell they ran out of budget because the quality devolves over time.
Like the Princess and the Dragon, except that one's a little more scattered.
Right. The plot is kind of nonsensical. It's very weird. It's a lot of shit just happens. Not even in the fairy tale way. Just like, we have no way to make a plot of this, so here's stuff. And
exactly.
I don't know, just fucking put this up here.
And it did get a wide release somehow, but it failed miserably.
I'll bet.
This movie is known for an interesting animation fact. The guy who played the main villain in this, Rick Mayall, was actually supposed to be Timon from The Lion King, but he turned that role down to play the villain in this movie. Oops.
Huh. Ouch, 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 ouch. That, not the best decision right there, evidently.
Yeah, that's one of those kind of things that you don't see coming. It's like, oh, hey, you're going to have a bigger part in this if you're in this movie. Okay, I'll do that. Oh, it turns out, not only did this movie fail, they sent it to die because it released the same month as Lion King.
Oh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Ooh. Yep. Unfortunately, yeah, no, that it didn't even stand a chance then. Wow.
The one saving grace this movie has, I will say, all of the backgrounds are this hand-drawn, watercolor painted style of background, and they stay beautiful throughout the entire movie. Like, every time you're looking at a background, it is looking at a work of art, and that is the saving grace of this weird film.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. Yeah. I really want to check that out because it is really is something else.
It's free up on YouTube. It's been there for 10 years. They have the full movie because the distributor, shortly after this movie came out, went out of business. It got bought up by someone else, and because this movie made basically nothing, they do not give a fuck.
Yeah. I definitely can see that. There's been a lot of movies like that, especially ones that we've talked about on the podcast and we'll do in the future. But that definitely sounds like a really interesting thing. I'm definitely going to check that out. Jordan,
I'm here.
So, sorry. Okay. What one would you pick as the strangest movie that you've seen?
There are just so many that I can't keep. Like, I've seen some that are like the Prince and the Troll, and I'm like, or the Goblin. I'm like, okay, that one's weird, but someone already pointed that out. I'm like, oh god, there's too many I've seen. I don't remember all the titles and the description. I'm like, that was weird. I think the weird one would be the Flight of Dragons. I seen the artwork.
Oh my god, I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
It belongs in so many cool references, like, of movies for dragon lovers, like all of us here. But it started off like it belonged in the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon reference drawings. I'm like, wait a minute. It looks so much different, but it's cool because it's just it's just weird. It started off weird for me when I'm like, okay, what am I looking at? Why are we now going to a Dungeons and Dragons kind of look feel? And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. But then the main character just loses me. I'm like, you are a dragon, good sir. Why are you questioning every little dang detail?
The green one.
You're just losing me. Yes, but the guy who kind of took Gorbash's body is just like confused. Like, you're a dragon. What's there to know about how to breathe fire and flight?
Indeed.
You're ruining the concept for me here, dude. But it's weird but cute at the same time, and you fully understand like what it is to be a dragon in a way. I'm like,
indeed.
Okay,
yeah.
you have wings in your back.
I still need to see that movie.
I'm not gonna lie, I may have only seen clips of it, but it was fun.
I've bits and pieces of it too, and it is definitely a very unusual movie. Yeah. So
and sorry.
That's okay.
Hey, go right ahead.
Yep.
It just seems to me like dragons have to use these weird breathing ability, but when you have wings on your back, but it also makes sense. So it's kind of a little weird for me. I'm like,
yeah, they use science to explain a lot of things.
That's
in the movie.
What
they also use science to defeat the villain.
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. Using
that was a weird part for me.
Yeah, it's like Ishigami Senku, kind of.
Yeah, that's what made it weird, but I liked it, and I think everyone else should watch it too.
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a watch at some point when I'm
same.
When work
I've
isn't
seen it
exactly
a long time ago. I'll definitely have to check it out again too. Yep. So, Evie, what would you have to say is the strangest animated movie that you have seen?
I'm honestly not sure.
Any Pokemon movie that was more bizarre than usual?
The only real bizarre movies I saw are like secondhand movies.
So good.
Understandable.
Film reviews and stuff.
I see.
Yep, that's good. So also our special guest for the episode who joined while we were recording, Python. What is your strangest animated movie that you have seen?
Okay, I have two. The first one
doesn't have to be anime; it can be live action too.
Yeah, could anime, live action, go nuts.
Anything.
The first one may be very vanilla by your guys' standards, but Quest for Camelot.
Okay,
that's understandable.
I'll bet. I mean, it's pretty. It's understandable. It's pretty tame, honestly.
Oh yeah, I think I actually do remember Quest for Camelot.
Yeah, Quest for Camelot.
And the second
it's about
one,
a girl trying to. No, there's only one Quest for Camelot. It's about a girl trying to get into a knight, and she finds a stable man who's blind tries to find the sword of Excalibur back to King Arthur.
It also has Urkel and
worked on it.
And those two-headed dragon. Oh, wait, who worked on it?
Lauren Faust. Lauren Faust was an animator on it.
Oh, then.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually really like the two-headed dragon. A lot of
they have a fun design.
A lot of people hated them. I'm just like,
I didn't hate them.
They're fun.
I never hated it. They were funny and corny.
Like a lot of people thought they were terrifying. I'm just like,
they're funny. Yeah.
I liked them.
How did you hate them? Like, what the heck? Like, what the heck, man?
Like, what the heck, man?
You listen to me, man.
I mean, unless someone tried to do a full cosplay of Cornwall and his brother in a theme park. I mean, Six Flags had the rights to him one time, like years ago, in Six Flags. They had a show of the Quest for Camelot.
Oh shit! Hell yeah!
Find it on YouTube.
Wow.
You can find it on YouTube. It's not a full good thing, but the video is not a good quality. But you can see like only two characters, the main character and the stable guy who is blind. You only see pictures of like videos of them like singing their songs, and that's it. Nothing else.
All right.
Yep. Well, that's a good.
Yeah. So the second one is a bit newer.
Okay.
Of a movie, but I actually enjoyed it a lot.
Oh,
it's called Seal Team.
Oh.
Seal Team?
Never heard of it.
I remember that.
Same.
Okay, it's a Netflix animated movie.
Yep.
Okay, think of the term SEAL Team, but taken literally.
Oh, wait, I think I know what you're talking about.
Interesting, alright.
I think I know what you're talking about. I could be wrong.
They basically fight a bunch of sharks trying to terrorize their little seal community or some shit. But it's so weird, but I love it.
Sounds really
supposed to be a SEAL Team 6 movie, but they turned into an animated movie and made them actual seals.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Well, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Yep. So now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale.
Oh,
and we're going to rank Princess Dragamon this week. I am going to give her a very high score this week. I can't, in all good conscience, give her a 10, sadly, because her actual Dragoness form is not on the screen enough. However, I am going to go one lower, and I'm going to give her a 9 out of 10. The reason I'm doing this is because I really feel that the dragon design, okay, it's not the most appealing visually Dragoness design, but it is unique enough. It's a lot of fun. You can tell that they had a lot of fun making it. The actress, she was having a ball playing Princess Dragamon. The fact that her human, quote-unquote human form, even though we're pretty sure she's not supposed to be human, but her, let's put it this way, the form with the human face still has a lot of Dragoness elements is a big boon. And just the fact that, she still is herself as the Dragoness. She hasn't just transformed into like some generic monster or that. She actually still is the character that she is. and really just her whole demeanor is she is a lot of fun. It's a shame that, again, we never got a sequel, we never got a follow-up where we could have had more of her, because that would have been a lot of fun.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right.
So Angron, what do you have to give her?
Oh boy, I am probably gonna have to give her a little lower of a score. Not too much, but I might have to give her a 7 out of 10. Not that she's a bad character. She's pretty effective as a villainess in spite of the whole anime overseas stupidity.
Yep.
That being said, however, I do agree that the dragon design has not appeared all that much, and the human design isn't bad, but it's not that great either. When I first saw it, I kind of thought she was like a Western woman doing the voice, which is like, wow, that's interesting. But nope, it is not the case. And as for her overall design and the dragon design, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's a step up from Gilgamesh or Gundamar.
Yeah.
But honestly, yeah, it's still pretty tame, and mainly the big thing that lowers it is that this movie, it's all right. I did have my fair share of fun with it at certain moments, but it was just it just wasn't my cup of tea. So yeah, I'm gonna give her a 7 out of 10. She's not bad, but she could have been a little better, and so in all honesty, could the movie.
Yeah. No, I get you. So Stryker, what would you have to give Princess Dragon Mom?
I'll just go with 8. I thought she was a pretty awesome villain.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, the dragon form was a little lackluster, but it didn't change the fact that I thought she was very pretty.
All right.
I'll bet.
Yeah, she definitely is. So, Math, what would you have to give her?
I'm gonna go with 8 as well. Loved her character. Like I said, she just channeled that Rita Repulsa energy so well.
Yeah.
Always
okay, you know what? I'm
fun
actually going to change
see her
mine
on
to 8 as
screen.
well.
Nice.
Her human design was great. Loved the outfit and the stylization that went with her. The reason she's an 8, I actually did not like the dragon form. It was, to me, the cheapest and the worst looking of all the outfits of all the monsters.
Interesting.
Yeah. Other than that, great character.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm also going to give her an 8 out of 10.
Wow, so that's 3 8 out of 10s. Wow. Nice.
Okay.
Yep, it's good. So, Jordan, what would you have to give her?
Same thing as everyone else has given her. Her costume,
8?
it looks like almost close to Radon's kind of like design a little bit, but...
And also Gidon, or
Ghidorah?
No, not Ghidorah. It's that frickin' bird thing that's basically the female Ghidorah from Gamera.
Oh, I get you. But
Yeah,
I'm gonna give her what
yeah.
everyone else has given her. Her human/mutant side, I guess. She looks badass as fuck. I'll give her that.
Oh yeah.
She has that Rita Repulsa attitude. I like
Absolutely.
it. It just maybe don't give her glittery wings, people. It just doesn't suit her. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet. Oh, I didn't hate the glittery rings. The suit was alright for what it was, but yeah.
Yep, I definitely can see that. So, Evie, what would you have to give her?
I can't find a picture of a dragoness form at all.
Sorry, what?
He says that he... Okay, so would you give her anything like 1 out of just wrote it down for like a NA or...
Yeah, NA.
All right, fine.
Okay.
And Python has unfortunately left, so we'll...
Maybe be back in like in 10 minutes or something, or...
No, all right. Well, all right. Well, that's going to be it for this week. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to send us your fan art of Princess Dragon Mom, you can feel free to email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com or visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/ or email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com or visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Next year begins the Year of the Dragon, and to celebrate, we're going to be discussing something that is tangibly related to it, because there's a woman transforming into a dragoness during Chinese New Year. So we're going to be talking about the 2022 animated movie Minions: The Rise of Gru. I do not know if we'll be wearing business suits to record this episode.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah, that's going to be it for. That's going to be it for this week, and thank you guys so much for listening. And until then, take care.
Yep, laters.
Later.
Sorry, Python.
Bye. Adios.